I am Jacob, and what you will hear today is one of many stories that happened to me, and no one believed it. The last time I spoke to you, I told you about the secret of the man who I found locked in an iron cage on board the ship. I had to help him get rid of the grip of his oppressive brother, who decided to keep him locked up and try to kill him instead of providing him with the appropriate treatment for his condition. I could not leave him alone. The ship doctor and I helped him, and fortunately my plan was successful, and I was able to deliver Blake to his niece, who would certainly help him. Immediately after landing at the port, I headed to the train station, and there I decided to book a ticket to return to the port where the ship I was working on was parked, which is still in the repair and maintenance phase at the present time, but fortunately the stop period has almost expired, and I will return to work soon. I returned again to the dirty hotel that I used to live in before I traveled. This was the ideal choice for me, because it was the cheapest, and therefore I returned again to live there. When I returned, the hotel owner received me and told me that my room had been rented 2 days ago. He looked at the room board and found that all the rooms had been rented. He told me about it, and I almost cried. The money I had earned was barely enough to stay in this hotel, and here I stood in front of him not knowing what to do or how I would act. Signs of disappointment and sadness clearly appeared on my face, so the owner whispered that there was a solution that could be good for me. So I eagerly asked him, "What is it?" And here he told me that on the roof of this hotel there is a room available, but this room is not as good as the rest of the hotel rooms. I almost laughed at what he said, because the hotel rooms are very bad. I cannot imagine that the room he was talking about would actually be worse than the hotel rooms. This hotel was the worst in the whole city, and the cheapest. Everyone knows that this hotel is bad and unclean as well. I almost refused from just imagining the idea, but he said that the rent for that room is half the price of renting regular rooms, so I quickly agreed. This offer is better than I imagined. Even if the room is very bad, at least it has a roof and a bed, and it won't cost me much. We went up, and I noticed as we were going up that everyone who saw us going up was looking at us with amazement, as if they were wondering that we were heading to the top. The roof of the hotel was a large, dirty garbage dump with many pieces of broken furniture that seemed to have been stored on the roof of the hotel in a random way. But that's okay. I'll get the room and try to make it as human as possible. The time I need is only a few days, so I can endure and everything will pass quickly. When we entered the room, I did not see anything. The hotel owner tried to turn on the lights, but was unable to do so. So he told me that I did not need lights anyway now, as I was going to sleep, and therefore I did not need lights. And in the morning he would have someone available for me to fix the light. I agreed despite my fear of the room and my feeling of anxiety because I cannot see what is around me. The lighting that came from outside only illuminates the entrance to the room, and I cannot see anything inside. The hotel owner left quickly, as if he was avoiding staying in the room for a long time. I did not know what to do or where to go. I did not see anything. I began to move slowly in the room for fear that I would bump into something or fall. I tried to use my hands to identify the things that I was around me after I closed the door to the room, and then I started to feel something that looked like a bed. I tried to get closer and made sure that I was standing in front of the bed now. Here I decided to take off my shirt and put it on the pillow that I found on the bed so as not to breathe in the dust that had certainly accumulated on the pillow. The room is as the hotel owner told me no one had lived there for a long time. I don't know how I slept that busy night. My body was extremely exhausted after the long train ride, and I needed a lot of sleep because I stayed awake throughout the trip, thinking about all the things I had gone through, for which I could not find an explanation. I also made an important decision that would affect my life. I have decided to learn. Yes, I need to learn to read at least. This is how I will be able to understand many things around me, especially in light of my strange, busy life that is going on incomprehensible madness. I felt almost nothing that night, and in the morning I woke up to the light that entered through the cracks in the door of the room. I know it is annoying, but it was amazing to me, especially since those rays that seeped into the room made me see the whole room around me. It was not a bad room at all, on the contrary. It was much better than the dirty hotel rooms. It had a small, comfortable bed, which I tried myself, and there was a medium-sized wardrobe, and in the corner there was a large table, and there was a carpet on the floor that looked in good condition. I decided to clean that room, as it only needed a little cleaning, and I actually started working. It was not easy, but it was worth it. The strange thing was that when I opened the wardrobe to inspect it, I found a lot of clothes inside it, and fortunately for me, most of them were in my size. The condition of the clothes were normal. They seemed to be used, of course, but they were suitable for me, and this is what is important. I only own the clothes I am wearing now. I changed my clothes and left the dirty clothes on the bed and went out to look for any place where I could find some cheap food. It was the market. Facing the hotel building here, I noticed that there was a man standing confused in the middle of the market as if he was searching for something. I did not care at first, but as soon as I passed by him, he asked me to stop and help him carry some boxes. I agreed and tried to help him as much as I could. The work did not take long, and after I finished, the man asked me to wait. He gave me one of the boxes and told me that it was a counterpart to my work and that he thought I needed it. And this man asked me where I lived. Perhaps he needed my help again. So I pointed him to the hotel and told him that I lived in the room located at the top of the hotel. And here I noticed the change in his features and his sudden desire to end the conversation. I did not care about the matter and went to bread cellar and I bought 3 loaves of bread. I intended to eat 1 loaf for every meal. Well, the money I had was not enough to buy more than that. I went upstairs and bumped into the hotel owner, who looked at me in amazement and asked, "Is everything okay?" The question was strange, and it was the first time the hotel owner had asked me this question. I did not think much about it and decided to go up to the room to eat bread and find out what was in the box. I quickly went up while avoiding the looks of astonishment on the faces of the hotel residents. I found my room as it was. I immediately entered the room and placed the box and bread on the large table. I opened the box and found several types of canned food in it. I was surprised by what I saw and felt very grateful. I began to eat my food with pleasure. As soon as I finished eating, I heard knocking on the door of the room. I quickly got up to the door to open it, and when I opened the door, I found a man I did not know standing in front of me. He told me that he had come to fix the lighting in the room for me. I allowed him to enter, and he entered slowly, as if feeling hesitant. He finally entered. He entered the room and started looking around as if he was searching for something, or perhaps afraid of something. I did not care about it, but I noticed that he was working quickly as if he wanted to finish the matter as quickly as possible. After he finished his work, he came out and stopped to talk to me, saying, "Is the room good? Did you see anything?" I did not understand what he meant, so I told him that I did not see anything, and he said goodbye to me and went downstairs. I didn't care much. All I wanted to do was go back to the same man whom I had helped and who gave me the box to thank him. In fact, I quickly went down to him and approached his store. When he saw me, he smiled anxiously. I approached him and thanked him for the box full of food. Then he told me that it was a simple matter for my help. He was a very friendly and spontaneous man, which encouraged me to continue talking to him. It seemed that he also forgot his caution and started asking me about the room I was staying in. Here I began to notice that something was up. Everything that had been happening since yesterday was not promising. I asked him directly about that room, what was wrong with it, and why everyone was asking me about it. And here I noticed that he lowered his voice and told me that everyone who lived in that room claimed that there was an evil spirit inhabiting it, a spirit that disturbed the inhabitants and afflicted them with nightmares and delusions, and that is why no one had settled in it for more than 1 week. Here he asked me again, and I replied that I did not see or feel anything. The conversation between me and the man ended, and I went up to the room again. The room was very comfortable, but I was feeling bored, so I started moving back and forth looking for something to do. Here I headed to the closet in the room to find inside it anything that might occupy my time. Indeed, I found a box full of comic books and magazines. I could not understand anything, but I was watching the pictures and drawings with enjoyment. Several hours passed while I was looking at those books and magazines. I finished all the books and magazines in the box and noticed that there was a cloth bag inside the box. I quickly took it out, and when I opened it, put my hand inside it, and took out some pieces, I discovered that they were pieces of puzzle. I felt a sudden nostalgia for my childhood because I had never had any games like this one before, an enthusiasm that I had never felt before. I picked up the bag, which was not heavy or light. It was normal, of medium weight. I placed it on the table after I removed everything from it, and I started taking out the pieces. This was the first time I played that game, and therefore I did not know that there was supposed to be a picture in it to show the final shape that needed to be assembled. But I started anyway. I was arranging the pieces, and whenever I finished a set of pieces, I took out another set of pieces from the cloth bag. I was doing this for long hours to the point that I forgot to eat lunch or dinner, and the threads of dawn began to appear. And here I noticed that the puzzle pieces had reached the borders of the table, and there were still pieces inside the cloth bag. I was determined to finish that game in any way. Finally, I assembled the entire figure. I found that there was a piece of the puzzle that was not there. I looked for it everywhere, in the bag, in the box, in the closet, but I did not find anything. Well, I decided then to sleep. I was completely exhausted. I laid my body on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. I woke up several hours later feeling like there was something stuck in my throat. I started coughing hard. I coughed several times and then I felt like I was going to vomit. I tried to get up, but I couldn't bear it. I vomited on my bed. It was strange, especially since I hadn't eaten anything since the previous morning. But I noticed something strange. In the middle of the vomit was a piece of the puzzle. I grabbed that piece and looked at it and thought about how it could get here. I couldn't find any logical solutions. I got up from my bed and changed my clothes into clean ones that were in the closet in the room. Then I changed the bed sheet and picked it up to wash it. I cleaned the puzzle piece and put it in my pocket. I washed the sheet and my dirty clothes and returned again to the table on which I had placed the puzzle, and then I took out the piece, which I put in my pocket and put in the puzzle. It was exactly in the middle, and without it, the shape of the puzzle could not be complete. Then I stood looking at the puzzle to discover that it was a picture of a large hand in the middle, with different shades of black around it. It was as if that hand had extended out of nowhere to hold something. It was really large, but I noticed that its size had doubled significantly. I felt afraid and incomprehensible. Perhaps I felt suspicious of what I see, and here I decided to move my face closer to focus more on that hand that I see, and that was the stupidest decision I could make in this situation. As soon as I approached the puzzle board in front of me, I found that hand getting closer. It comes out of the panel and extends to hold my face. It grabbed me. The hand grabbed my head. The size of the hand was as big as my head. I tried with both hands to free myself from it, but to no avail. The hand was controlling my entire body only by holding my head. The hand was moving me to the right and to the left. I could not do anything. I felt that my vision at this time had become blurry, and that I felt with the severe pain in my head. It was so horrible. I had never felt so much pain before. I tried to run, to get away, but to no avail. That hand was holding me and never wanted to let go. After a little time and a lot of resistance, I felt that my strength was gradually collapsing and that death was closer to me than ever before. The hand continued to move me around the room, and not long after that, the hand threw me into one of the corners of the room, and then it came out of the painting and began to disappear into the air as if it was gradually becoming transparent. I sat in my place for a long time, not knowing what to do, and in fact, I could not move. My body was completely exhausted. I did not feel myself and fell asleep again. It did not take long that time. When I woke up, I looked at the table, and then I noticed that the puzzle board had become much smaller, as if it had shrunk in some way. I looked at it from a close distance and found that the hand looked normal size, and it still looked like stretching out to grab something, but this time it wasn't terrifying or frightening. It was normal like any other painting. I disassembled the puzzle again and put it in the cloth box. I did not know what to do. Should I put it back in its place or get rid of it, especially since I was well aware that whatever was inside that toy had already come out of it. Yesterday, I saw it vanishing into thin air. I sat down to eat my food after I collected the puzzle pieces, and the memories of the previous day were still disturbing and exhausting me, but I controlled myself and decided to get rid of this cursed game. I left my room and went downstairs. Everyone's looks were still suspicious and confusing to me, as if they were waiting for me to tell them about the strange things that had happened in the room. Yes, there was something strange, but the matter was not related to the room, but rather to that cursed toy that I was holding in my hand. I thought about where I could get rid of that game forever. I was walking without a specific destination, thinking about the appropriate place to get rid of that toy before it hurts anyone, and here I found myself approaching the same workshop where the boat I work in is being repaired, and at that moment, an excellent idea occurred to me. It is the sea, and it is the most appropriate place to get rid of this curse forever. Even if anyone is able to recover some of the pieces, he will not be able to recover the rest, as the pieces will either be destroyed or will settle at the bottom to be dissolved by the water. I didn't want to get rid of the whole bag. I was afraid that if I got rid of the bag with the pieces inside it, the pieces would somehow remain intact. So I decided to open the bag and throw the pieces into the water. Indeed, within seconds, all the pieces fell into the water. Some of them floated for seconds. Then he drowns in the water. I carried the cloth bag in my pants pocket and then moved to the workshop to find out the start time for work on the ship. Here they told me that work would begin within 3 days and that I should not be late so that no one else would get my job. I moved quickly towards my room on the roof of the hotel, and when I reached it, I felt the desire to take a shower, so I took off my clothes. After I took the cloth bag out of my pants pocket and placed it on the table, I finished showering after several minutes and returned to the room to eat. I ate my food quietly. I got up again to lie down on my bed, and here I noticed that the cloth bag for the puzzle had changed its shape. I told myself that I must have moved it from its place while I was eating, but there was something bothering me about the appearance of this cloth bag. It looked different, as if something was inside it. I moved slowly from my bed to the table and carried the cloth bag. Well, now I was sure that there was something inside the bag, but what was it? I opened the bag and emptied its contents on the table, and here was the shock for me. It was the puzzle pieces themselves, the puzzle pieces that I just got rid of them in the sea, and I confirmed for myself that it had drowned in the water before I left. How did it get back into the cloth bag? How did it appear now? I cannot find any logical explanation for what happened. I quickly collected the puzzle pieces again inside the cloth bag, as if I wanted to get them out of my sight as quickly as possible. I closed the bag again and did not find any place where I could put this bag again. I understood that it would not be easy to get rid of this bag, and that there was a curse indeed. I do not know if the curse was in the game or in the room. I could not think clearly. I extracted the box from which I had taken the game and carried all the books and magazines out of it. Then I put the cloth bag in its place, and the rest of the other things on top of it, and put it back in its place in the closet. Only now did I understand the secret of everyone's escape from that room. I slept again, and when I woke up in the morning, I was afraid to look at the table. I expected to see the cloth bag full of puzzle pieces in front of me, but fortunately I did not find anything. I breathed comfortably and tried not to think about those things. I started preparing my things to go to the ship. There were only 2 days left until the start of the new trip. I borrowed some of the clothes I found in the room to travel with. The 2 days passed quickly, and I returned again to the ship. I met many friends and colleagues, and among them was Eric. I was happy to see them all, and after each of us settled in his place, I went to Eric and asked him to teach me how to read. Eric smiled happily and promised me that I would be able to read by the end of that trip. We started our journey, and I discovered that all my fears of ships and the sea had completely disappeared, but I had a new fear of paintings and puzzles. I don't know if I will ever get rid of it or not.